Welcome everybody to the Ulpan Leonyan studio, live in Jerusalem. We're going to be fighting over the mic here, but you'll bear with us. I think you're going to learn a lot. Ami, why don't you start us off and introduce yourself?
All right. Shalom chulam. Hey, everybody. My name is Ami Steinberger. I founded Ulpan Leonyan about 14 and a half years ago, where the idea was that there were plenty of Ulpanim that already existed, and a lot of people learned tons of Hebrew in those places, and a lot of people would go and they just didn't learn enough to open their mouths and speak. Luckily, I had this hobby of learning languages and this great method that I love learning languages with. And I thought, hey, maybe if I write lessons based on this method, it might catch and it might actually fill the gap in Israel for English speakers who are having trouble with their active vocabulary. So that was the original idea of Ulpan Leonyan, and here we are still doing it in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, around the world online, in Efrat and Bet Shemesh as well. There was just an exam in Efrat and Bet Shemesh today. And that's a little about me and about Ulpan Leonyan. Aaron, jump in.
All right. So my name is Aaron Shachatovitz. Don't worry, I won't quiz you on the spelling there. But I am a co-founder of Blue and White Finance, which we'll hopefully get to tell you a lot about. And what we try and do is help Olim better manage their finances in Israel. We provide education and guidance and help Olim really understand what their options are here. It's really, really exciting to be doing a webinar with Ami, who's one of my big inspirations. I used to work with Ami, a few years back, and something you should know about Ami, if you're not signed up to his daily dose of Hebrew, you should go right now and sign up. He's been doing this for more than 10 years now.
A daily dose?
Yeah. I mean, it's a real inspiration to see that somebody's been giving value to Olim for over 10 years, like almost every single day of the week, which is incredible. And just really helping people move forward, not in huge steps, but sometimes just small steps in a little dose. You can really learn a lot. And that's what we're going to be doing tonight. We're going to cover, a lot of topics. We're going to cover them briefly, but we're hopefully going to give you a lot of value and go from there. Let's jump in. All right, so this webinar is broken down into three mini lessons, right? You saw what they are when we're going to talk. We're going to go through each lesson. Don't worry, I know we're going to be covering a lot of topics and a lot of information. Don't worry, after this webinar is over, we're going to send out a recording. So you'll be able to review everything. And with that, we're going to send out guides so that you can read anything that you find interesting, anything that you find practical and helpful in this discussion. You'll be able to move forward and learn a lot more about, after the webinar. So, yeah, please.
And I wanted to say something about the Hebrew instruction in this webinar. The way we're going to do it, it's not our classroom style, rather it's daily dose style, where there's going to be a word that comes up that's relevant to what we're doing here. And then I'll say, oh, here's the word, and then expound upon it a little bit, the root sometimes, a little connections to help you remember the word. So it's not going to be a conversational lesson, rather it's going to be handy vocabulary for dealing with the powers that be when you're looking to manage your money in Israel.
Yeah. So that's basically part of the beauty of this webinar is we're going to be going through these topics and learning Hebrew with each slide and each discussion. We're going to go through the theory, understand a little bit about it, but also understand the Hebrew, which we all need to actually implement everything that we're learning. So two little disclaimers before we jump right in. Number one, nothing that we're discussing here is personal financial advice. This is for general educational purposes only. We hope this will give you a lot of practical information that you can use, but everybody should do their own research based on your own situation. And secondly, we're going to refer to a lot of different services and companies and all kinds of different options that exist in here in Israel. It's very important to know that we do not take any commissions. We do not earn anything from these services. We're completely independent from all these services. That's extremely important to us, especially when it comes to education and financial education. Being independent, hoping that you will be able to trust that we're sharing information with you that's useful, that's not based on us earning anything or trying to drive commissions. And I think we hope you'll get a lot of value from that approach. Let's jump in.
I find that inspiring. Okay. Yeah, go for it.
All right. So the first topic is transferring money into Israel. Let's look at some charts just to start. So you can see here a chart. The first thing I'm going to warn you about is this, fees are only one of the subjects. Fees are only one of the different factors to consider, but fees are important. And we're going to look at two common scenarios here of somebody transferring money to Israel. Olim, let's say they have savings, they're moving to Israel and they want to transfer small amounts of money every single month. When we look at the different options for that, when you're doing something every single month, it can really, really impact. And having a cheap way of doing that can be really impactful. So we're going to talk about all of these things that are mentioned here in a second, but just to summarize here some of the fees. And then scenario number two is like somebody has a significant amount saved up in outside of Israel. They want to transfer money to buy a home. They want to transfer their entire life savings to Israel. Those are very different considerations and very different options. So that's how we kind of want to break it down. And we're going to look at these in more detail in a second. Ami, why don't you jump in and start us with the Hebrew?
Okay. So here's an important term to know. It's good. It's actually something that it doesn't translate very well to English, because there we talk about, in English, at least in the States, there's wire transfer, there's e-checks or whatever. I don't even know anymore. I've been living here for a while.
ACH, yeah.
Anyway, so in Hebrew, there's ha'avara bankait, which means a bank transfer. Bankait, from the word bank, which you may have guessed means bank. But bankai is when bank is used as an adjective, and an it at the end makes it a feminine word, because ha'avara is feminine. Ma ze ha'avara? What is a ha'avara? Ha'avara is a transfer. Leha'avir is to transfer something from one place to another, such as money from America to Israel, for example. So ha'avara is the form of leha'avir. You may look at the roots. You may look at the word ha'avara and find the root smack in the middle. The three middle letters are ayin bet resh, which is also the word avar, the past, because the past is something that was transferred backwards, something like that. Anyway, it's connected. It's all related. Leha'avir is to move from one place to another. Move something from one place to another. La'avor is to pass something, is to pass yourself from one place to another. Le'avir is to cause something else to pass. Ha'avara bankait, you're causing the money to pass in a bank form from one place to another. That's one term that's good to know. It'll come up in documents. It'll come up in conversations with the bank. Another one is cheshbon bank, right? Cheshbon is an account, coming from the root chet shin bet, chashav, thought, or chishev, or, well, when we think, counting is a form of thinking, right? So lechashev is to account for something, is to calculate. Cheshbon is the account that takes into account money that comes in and out. So cheshbon is an account of debits and credits and that kind of thing. Cheshbon bank. Cheshbon is also the word you want to use when asking for the check at a restaurant. Cheshbon vakasha. Next. Okay. And then another relevant word to this slide, Aaron, you started talking about fees. Fee in English is a broad term. In Hebrew, we have a few different terms. We're going to touch upon, I think we're going to get to the other one later on, but for now, we're going to stick with amla. This is the most common one. Amla is the type of fee that people take for having done something, a commission. The root there is ayin mem lamed, amal, which is kind of a synonym for avodah. So amla is like as if somebody has toiled to do something for you, they charge a commission. In this case, it's the machines of the bank, it's the algorithms which are doing the toiling, but they still charge the amla anyway. I think you have an upcoming something about how to save money on amalot.
Yes, we all know that fees is a big part of everything in Israel, but we're going to talk a little bit about how to save on fees. You want to jump into the next slide?
Yeah.
So now we're going to talk about, let's just understand a little bit about options. I threw out a lot of options in the previous slide. Let's talk about what these are. Not all of these are going to be relevant to you and your situation, but we just want to compare what are the different options and understand a little bit. So let's start from the most basic, which is a traditional bank-to-bank transfer, right? We have a bank in the US, let's say, we make an international wire from our US bank to our Israeli bank. Now, one of the reasons we often don't recommend that type of transfer is because, as you know, when it comes to Israeli banks tend to have very high fees. And when you do that kind of transfer, what you tend to get hit with is many different layers of fees. You can have a fee for just receiving for the international wire. You can have a fee for exchanging the currency into shekels. You can't really spend dollars in Israel. So if the money is sitting in your account in dollars, it may not be so useful for you. You can have a fee for opening a foreign currency account. When the dollars arrive in your Israeli account, you might just get hit with a fee just for that. If you decide you want to transfer the dollars out of your bank, you might get hit with another fee. So as you can see, very often for Olim that have U.S. banks, or that have not just Olim in the U.S., but Olim for everywhere that have maybe some banking relationships outside of Israel, it's often best, if possible, to transfer shekels to the Israeli bank account, leave the other currencies outside of Israel. But every situation is different, so that might not apply to you, but that's one possible way to save on fees. Next, let's talk about transfer services. There's many transfer services. There's probably hundreds of them around the world. But there's many local ones. Maybe you've heard of some of them. Let's, just some examples. I'm not recommending one or the other, but Isra Transfer, Desco, ClearShift, Currency Direct. There's many different currency transfer services. And these are companies that will facilitate the transfer and theoretically will help with the back and forth with your bank. They will help you transfer money from your U.S. bank account, from your bank account, wherever your origin country is, and help get that money into your Israeli bank account in shekels. So that's what a transfer service is. They often can save you fees relative to the bank, and significant fees. And that's an important option, especially, I would say that's one of the most popular options when it comes to trying to buy a home or trying to move money over where there's maybe a tight window of time where you need to get the money from one place to another. That's one of the most popular options, because you want somebody accountable. Maybe you want somebody you can talk to and can help you with the process along the way. That's kind of where transfer services come in. Let's talk about, we're going to leave Interactive Brokers to last. That's a bit the most confusing one, I would say. Revolut is basically a global digital bank, which is, at this time, they might be changing it soon, but right now they're offering unlimited currency exchange for $9 a month for the US-based account. There's accounts based all over the world. But basically, it's an extremely attractive fee for unlimited currency exchange. It allows you to transfer money from your bank, and you don't even have to transfer it to your Israeli bank account. You can use your Revolut card to spend in shekels, even without transferring it to your Israeli bank. You can transfer money from Revolut to your Israeli bank account, and that's another very interesting option for somebody who's transferring money regularly, who is earning income in the U.S., earning income in another part of the world. This can be a very valuable benefit. The one problem is, if you've already made Aliyah, you've already moved to Israel, and you do not maintain an address outside of Israel, you will not be able to open up a Revolut account. They require a verifiable address, which is a very common thing amongst Olim, that they keep some way they keep an address in Israel, even though they live, outside of Israel, even though they live in Israel. That's very common amongst Olim, but not everybody has that option. So that might not be an option for you. Wise, you do not need, is similar, but a little bit higher fees than Revolut. It's also yeah.
How do you say fees in Hebrew? How do you say fee? Commission? Amla.
Oh, I hear them. We got them.
And how about, we already talked about bank transfer. How do you say bank transfer in Hebrew?
Yeah, they're practicing. See it.
Ha'avara bankait.
Yeah.
And one more. How do you say?
What's the other one?
A bank account.
All right.
One
bag. Good job. Great. So Wise is another option, which is it's a global fintech, which is helping move money all over the world. It's a very, very large company now at this point. They charge a fee per transaction. So every time you exchange currency, you're going to pay a fee, but it's very transparent. So you can really see exactly what you're paying in advance. All of these options, and then we'll talk about interactive brokers in a second. All these options are giving you, they calculate the market rate, the actual exchange rate you're getting. They calculate a little bit differently. There's different ways of calculating, but you're all getting something very close to the live market rate, the market rate that you see on Google, except for with the exception of traditional bank to bank, right? In that case, you can expect your bank to shave quite a bit off the rate that they give you, because that's where they make a lot of profits. Interactive brokers, the last option we talked about, is really for people that are investing. It's a global investment platform. Maybe you've heard of Schwab, Fidelity, Vanguard. Interactive brokers is a US-based brokerage, just like Schwab, Fidelity, and Vanguard. But it has the advantage that it has banking partnerships all over the world. So it actually has an Israeli bank that it partners with. So if you want to transfer money to your Interactive Brokers account, you've got an Israeli bank account that you can do it to. If you want to transfer money to your Israeli account from your Interactive Brokers account, it's very easy local transfer. So if you're doing investing, it can be one of the cheapest options for also transferring money. They do not allow you to use the platform just for transferring money. So even though it's extremely cheap, if you're not investing also, and you're not using it to do some form of investing, it's not going to be an option for you. Take over.
So if we're already talking about understanding the options, let's go for the word options. One second. There we go. אפשרויות. מלשון אפשר, from the word אפשר. אפשר, it's possible, right? So an option is something which is possible. אפשרות, that's one of them. Many options is אפשרויות. I think there's another word I wanted to teach here. Yeah, a couple words. שירות, right? This is something that there's transfer services, there's interactive brokers, there's Revolut. All these are forms of שירות. שירות is service. לשרת is to serve. It's actually from biblical Hebrew, and this and if we're talking about money transfer services, then these are שירותי העברת כספים. העברת כספים, העברת is the of form of העברה. It's like העברה של, it's the סמיכות form. העברת כספים, transfer of monies. כסף, כספים, right? שירותי העברת כספים. Yeah, monies. שירותי העברת כספים. How do you say that in English? Money transfer services. Money transfer services, or if we go for the smichut here, we go really literal. We want to understand the mechanics of this phrase. It's services of transfer of monies. Okay,
we got it. Okay, so the one big warning I have for you when you're transferring money to Israel, I'm sure most of you know this already, but I got to state it again. Do not transfer money to your Israeli bank account when we're talking about significant sums. And what a significant sum is very debatable. You can go to a different branch of a different bank and get a totally different answer. That's unfortunate, but if it's a very unusual amount, if it's an amount that's not usually transferred to your Israeli bank account, if it's an amount that's going to cause a red flag, do not transfer it until you get approval from your bank. There's unfortunately many stories of people transferring large sums of money to their Israeli bank account without asking permission first, and the Israeli bank locking up that money for weeks until they get the necessary paperwork. This is not just an issue because the Israeli banks are mean and difficult. This is an issue because there's been a big crackdown from the U.S. government in terms of money laundering, in terms of people avoiding taxes. They put a lot of pressure on Israel. There was a specific Israeli bank that was liable to criminal liability, and that put a lot of pressure on the Israeli banking system. The Bank of Israel put regulations on all the Israeli banks that they really need to make sure that all the money coming into Israel is not being used to evade U.S. taxes, and that has caused problems for Olim from everywhere in the world, not just the U.S., but has caused problems for all of us. But common document requests from your bank when you are transferring a large amount of money, a letter from an accountant or a lawyer saying that all the taxes have been paid on this money, that this is not, money that you're criminally evading taxes with. This is money that you go in and you want to jump in?
Yeah. Okay. So time out for a couple of relevant terms that you just mentioned. One of them is mismachim. Mismachim are documents, right? These documents are very important. Mismach is a single document. Mismachim are documents. How do you say service in Hebrew? Shirut. And how about money transfer services? Shirutei ha'avarat
I see somebody who got
k'safim.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. This is our barometer. And I think we had one more over there. Yeah. How do you say options in Hebrew? Efsharuyot. So mismachim are documents, and a hatzara is a declaration. That's actually coming a little bit later. You're going to talk about hatzara, so it's a little preview. Hatzara, lehatzir, is to declare. Hatzara is a declaration or a proclamation. And orech din is the person who will handle many of those mismachim for you. Orech din or orechet din, a female lawyer. And it's good to know if you're reading a text or a mismach, if you will, then seeing that acronym over there, you're going to see an acronym like that, Ein Vav Daled with the chupchik, with the gershaim, od. People just say orech din, they don't say od. But Ein Vav Daled is orech din. So if you see Ein Vav Daled like that, and especially if it's a legal document, then you're going to know it's talking about an orech din, a lawyer, orech din. Another important acronym to know is Ro'eh Cheshbon Resh Vav Chet. Ro'eh Cheshbon, or Ro'at Cheshbon if she's female, is an accountant, somebody who sees your account, who looks over your account. Like, I don't see my account, they see my account. They do whatever they want with my account just to make sure it's all good.
We hope it's.
Yeah, hopefully. Ro'eh Cheshbon, Ro'at Cheshbon, okay.
Wait, yeah, go back for a second. Let's just talk about the last two documents. So you're going to need any supporting document. Where is this money coming from? Is it coming from an investment? Is it coming from a house you just sold? Make sure you keep all that documentation. They're going to want to see it. And a letter of good standing, a declaration letter. This can mean 25 different things. I can't really tell you what it means. And I can tell you, when you ask many banks and brokerages in the US and you ask them for this, they will say, we refuse to provide it. This is not something we do. Make sure to document that. If you send an email to the support team at your bank or anything like that, and they refuse to provide it, they say, we can provide you this, but we can't provide you that. Print that all out, bring that to the bank. Show them, listen, I tried to get you what you wanted and they refused, but here's the proof, here's the evidence, document everything. Unfortunately, you're going to have to push a little bit sometimes. Some people sail through with a breeze. Their bank says, sure, send the money tomorrow. And some people have headaches and are asked again and again and again. And I can't tell you a magic formula. Really, every branch of every bank has different policies.
In any case, what is a declaration in Hebrew? Hatzhara. By the way, the root there is tzadi heiresh, which is the same root as tzoraim, noon or afternoon. Hatzhara is a declaration. And documents. How do you say documents in Hebrew? Mismachim. Mismachim. And one document is a mismach. What about a lawyer, if he's a man? Orech din, and if she's female, orechet din, and a female accountant would be ro'at cheshbon, while a male accountant is ro'eh cheshbon, a seer of your account. Ready?
Let's do it. And just run through these terms.
Yeah. Quick review, and
you're going to be back in a second. All right. So the next mini lesson, we're going to talk about some banking tips, how to save a little bit of money, Israeli credit cards. Why don't you start with giving us some words, and then we'll jump into it.
Bankaut, like if you go to the bank and I don't know if you can still go to the bank these days. I think it's all online because there are a few sniffim left, right?
There are
a few branches around. I've been to the one in Tel Aviv.
Good luck getting an appointment, but yes.
Yeah. Try walking. Okay, so bankaut is banking. So you walk in and you'll see a desk that says bankaut iskit, which is business banking, and then bankaut pratit, maybe personal banking. In any case, bankaut is bankism, banking. Okay, kind of like havara bankait is a bank transfer. Bankaut is banking. Next, okay, kartis ashray. And people just call it ashray or visa, but kartis ashray is that card, or in Google Wallet, that card that lets you buy stuff and pay for it later. Ashray is credit, or a visa, which kind of extends your, what's a visa? Visa is something that gives you a license to walk around the different countries, like Marco Polo. That's what ashray. So Katis ashray is basically a credit card. Kartis from the Greek. Okay.
All right, here, pull up the image. It's not showing up. Oh, there it is.
Oops. No, I'm gonna get rid of it.
It's okay. So what you're seeing now is just a sample of, there's a document that banks produce every single year. You can go right now onto your bank. If you've had an Israeli bank in the past year, you can download this document. And this document, and you'll see in this case, it's section 4, but you want to look for the fees section. And we know the word for fees. I know I'll be reviewing this recording to practice on my Hebrew, but you can see where you can download and you can see what are the fees I paid, for the year. And if you look at this sample, you can see he paid a lot of fees in all kinds of different things. When it comes to, he paid credit card fees, he paid fees for different transfers, and you can really see how much you paid, how many times you took a specific action, what the fees were. A lot of times people feel like Israeli banks are a black box, that you really have no idea what's going on. But really, they do have to provide you with this information. This information is there for you to download, for you to review, and for you to understand where you're paying too many fees and where to start your negotiation process. So let's do some more Hebrew words, and we'll talk about that more in a sec.
Yeah. Okay. So how do you say fees in Hebrew when we're talking about commissions? Amlot. Look at the top right over here where it says amlot. That's the word. That's the title of this whole thing. Okay. So now there's various pieces of vocabulary. Okay. Review your Teudat Zehut Bankait. Bankait we saw already is a bank something. Teudat Zehut, if you live in Israel, you know what a Teudat Zehut is. It's a Teudat Zehut, which is an ID card. Teuda is a certificate or a diploma. Congratulations. Teudat Zehut is your certificate of identity. It's your identity card, ID card. Teudat Zehut Bankait is your bank ID card, which just basically gives you information about your own bank account. So that's what that's the words are covering some of this vocabulary over here, but let's go through the vocabulary, because once you have this vocabulary, you'll be able to look at a page like this and make sense of it. So the first thing over here is over vashav, but it's colloquially called osh. Whereas orech din, remember what orech din means? Lawyer, that's right. It's spelled ayin vav chupchik dalet. We don't say od, we say orech din. And for an accountant, how do you say accountant? Which we're talking about a guy? Ro'eh cheshbon. We don't say roach or roch, we just say ro'eh cheshbon. But in this case, we do say osh. People just call it osh. Cheshbon osh. An osh account. What is over vashav? What is osh? It's over vashav. It goes and comes back. Money in, money out. Money out, money in. Right? Over vashav. Shav is like choser. All right, so that's right. So
that's the goal.
That's the goal. Hopefully it comes back. Yeah, it kind of goes up a little bit.
Yeah.
So that is in English called a checking account. Another important word to know is zikui. This is the credit side of the account, of the cheshbon. Zikui. It's the same root as zchut or zchus, right? Which is a merit. If you credit merit, you're in the plus, right? A zikui is when money comes in. Shav, hopefully. So that's zikui. Also, when you return an item in a store, they might give you a zikui. They might give you credit for the store credit. And there's also on the other side chiyuv, which is debit. It comes from the word, well, you may know it as chiyuv, obligation. It's like in Hebrew they use the word obligo, probably from Spanish or something, right? To assess one's lendability, or I don't know.
Credit rating.
Credit rating. Yeah. I don't know. I know it in Hebrew. Okay, so chiyuv is a debit, is money out. Mishicha is limshoch, is to pull or to withdraw. So mishicha is withdrawal, among other meanings, but in this case it's withdrawal. And there's hafkada. Hafkada is deposit. Lehafkid is to deposit something for safekeeping somewhere. Hopefully the bank is a safe place to keep your money. So אנחנו מפקידים כסף בבנק, עושים הפקדה. We do we make a deposit. Okay, so quick review of these terms. Let's see if I remember. We have more. Yeah, we have.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so
This is a good terms one. I mean,
these are really good terms. So let's review what we have so far. Let's see if you remember. Money in, money out. The checking account. How do you say that? חשבון עו"ש, עובר ושב, in parentheses. Then we have money in, a credit, זיכוי. Money out, a debit, חיוב. לחייב is to charge someone, a charge. חיוב is also a charge. And withdrawal is משיכה, משיכת כספים, and a deposit. What's the word for a deposit? הפקדה. We'll get to a practical usage of הפקדה pretty soon. Now let's go on to another word. We have הוראת קבע. What do you call this in English?
Standing order.
Standing order. Really?
Yeah, it's a banking term. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I know it as הוראת קבע because I never got that far in banking in America. I've been here for a while.
I'm sure there's another. Yeah. Automated transfer, a scheduled transfer.
Yeah. So there's also harsha'ah, which is another word for it. Write it down, right?
Yeah.
There's harsha'ah.
Okay.
But horat keva is what most people know it as. You may see the word harsha'ah in your bank statements, but when they tell you over the phone, they're probably going to say horat keva. Horat keva is a standing order, which is, let's say the area, the municipality sends you your Arnona bill in the beginning of the year. Let's say it's 30,000 shekels. You don't want to spend that. You want to all at once. You want to break that down over, let's say, 12 months. So you set up a horat keva so that every month they debit from your account 1/12 of that amount of money. Horat keva. Hora'ah is an instruction, like Torah is it's the same root as Torah, which is the book of instruction. Horat keva is an instruction, is an instruction of regularity. Keva is regularity. So a regular instruction to take your money. Okay, horat keva. Then there's pe'ula. If you've gone to Bnei Akiva, you know what pe'ula means. It's an activity, but it's also a transaction because the transaction is also an activity in your account. So pe'ula is a transaction. What's the root of pe'ula? Pe ayin lamed, which is the same root as pa'al, pi'el, hif'il, huf'al, hitpa'el, all of your wonderful binyanim, because po'al means verb. It's all about activity, action, transaction, and in this case, pe'ula is a transaction. Yeah. What else do we have here? Okay, the next term for another word.
We'll do that.
Okay, well, we're going to get to that soon. So ha'avarat zahav. This is the word ha'avara, which means transfer with a taf at the end because it's a transfer of. What is it a transfer of? Zahav, not actual gold. You see there's a chupchik, there's a gershaim there. So it tells you it's an acronym. What is the acronym? It's zikui, mashu, bankai. I don't know, but the idea is that it's instant. It's right away. Havarat zahav is when you want the other person to receive the money immediately, not wait for the next bank day or something like that. Havarat zahav is an instant transfer, and this is where IBAN comes in if you're doing it internationally.
And SWIFT, right?
SWIFT, yes, Swift. Okay, and then one more term over. Oops, wait, did I skip a term?
No, we got the other ones after.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So the next, you may have guessed it. It's not baseball, but Israel's national pastime. Not falafel either. It's negotiation. If you've been to the shuk, if you've been to the bank, if you've been anywhere, that's what you got to do here. If you want to go ahead and get all these fees reduced, you want a year off of fees, you want, any sort of leeway once you've gone and reviewed your yearly statement and you see what kind of fees you paid. That's what you got to do. Is the next step is to negotiate.
Negotiating in Hebrew is not a verb. Negotiating is a thing. It's a noun. Masao matan. You can say lenahel masao matan, which is to conduct a negotiation, but masao matan is a negotiation, which is something like a give and take, or rather a take and give. Masa is a form of is a kind of a synonym for lakachat or lekicha, and matan is like matana, like giving. So masao matan is a taking and giving, a back and forth exciting. Yeah.
So very often Olim expect, when they come to Israel, there's going to be some great credit cards with rewards and all kinds of points, just like you had back in the old country. Don't get so excited. There are some credit cards with rewards. These are just a few of them. Don't worry, I'll send you a bunch more afterwards that you can look at. Sometimes the best reward in Israel is just no fee, not having to call up every year and say, can you cancel my fee, please? There are some cards that have no fees ever. These are a few examples. No annual fee. You don't pay your monthly fee or anything like that. When you're using these cards outside of Israel, you should know, there can generally be very high fees involved. When you charge your Israeli credit card, if you're traveling in Europe, if you're traveling in the US. So some of these credit cards have lower fees. Right now, 1% is about the best you can get. There's a new bank coming with maybe a little bit better. But right now, 1% foreign transaction fee is the best you can get in credit cards in Israel. And you can see that often one of the best rewards is no monthly fee at all. So if you review your bank statement, you see that you've been paying a lot of money in credit card fees. You don't need a bank credit card. Bank credit cards don't give you any extra added benefits. You can get one of these cards. You can use it at the ATM, just like you use your bank card. You can use it to pay, just like you use your bank card. If your bank will not waive fees, and you've had a bank card for at least 1 year, because sometimes it's hard to get a private card when you haven't had a bank card for at least a year. But if you've had a bank card for at least a year, consider moving on if your bank will not waive fees, because there are fees that you can get for free. And these are some examples. I'm going to jump into some
Sure.
Hebrew here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the old Masal. Here we have the word for free, chinam. That's actually biblical Hebrew. Chinam and kasef. Chinam is free of charge, and there's a term which is handy across the board.
Those topics.
Matach. Here's another term that people use the acronym as the word for it, just like a checking account is what? Cheshbon osh, or over rashav. So likewise, foreign currency is matbea chutz, or more colloquially stated as matach. Matach with a tet and a chupchik, the gershaim over there. Matbea chutz. Matbea is not only a coin, it's also currency. So when you see the word matbea in a banking situation, they're probably not talking about coins unless it says matbeot. Matbea is currency. Matbea chutz, like Misrad HaChutz, is the foreign Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Matbea chutz is foreign currency. Matach. Matach is what you're going to see in your bank menu on your online banking website.
Yeah. All right. So for our last mini lesson, we're going to talk about short-term savings in Israel. Okay, we're specifically talking about savings you can access in your bank. We're not talking about investing, for longer term. We're not talking about investment accounts, but we're talking about money you want to keep relatively safe. Hopefully, we'll do another webinar on some investing. That's a topic I love to talk about. But when we're talking about money we want to keep safe, we're saving up for a specific goal. We're keeping the money, for an emergency fund, for ongoing savings. We want to keep that money relatively liquid. We want to keep that money stable. We want to keep that money often in shekels. Many people like to save up in dollars and in euros and all kinds of things. If you're saving up for something in Israel, unfortunately, the exchange rate can wipe out a lot of the gains that you can make in your high yield savings account in the US or anything like that. The exchange rate can really wipe out the gains that you make very quickly. Nobody really knows where things are going with the exchange rate over the short term, especially whether the dollar is going to strengthen or weaken, where the shekel is going against the euro or the dollar or or the pound or any other currency. We really don't know. And often when we're saving up for something in the short term, what we want to do is think about how we can reduce our risk, keep the money in shekels, where we're going to, assuming we're saving up for something that we expect to buy in shekels. And we need to understand the Israeli banking system. How do we tap into our options here in an Israeli bank? So that's what we're going to talk about now. It's basically been a regime change over the last year, where you've had interest rates have gone way up, all over the world. Also in Israel, not to the same degree as the US, but quite a bit have gone up, and you've gone from a place where you could get basically nothing by using these savings accounts in your Israeli bank to a point where you can generate significant interest, which we'll see in a second. And these are valuable tools that you can access just with your app, your banking app on your phone, by logging online and just creating a simple transfer to a savings account. Let's talk about it a little bit now. Let's jump into the next slide. So this is an example from the Bank of Israel. The Bank of Israel, the Central Bank of Israel, basically created a database. It's about 5 to 6 weeks behind, so it's not exact, to the day information, but it's a valuable tool for looking at, what is happening in the market now. What can I expect from my bank? What can I expect from other banks? And how do I understand what different interest rates are? And you can see in this tool that you can look at how long you're looking to lock your money up for. It works very different than other savings tool you might be interested in, you might know from other countries. Here in Israel, the basic savings structure is you decide how much time you want to put the money away. And generally, the longer you're willing to lock the money up, the more the more interest you can earn. And it's not a perfect relationship, but that's kind of how it works. And you can see an example where, okay, I'm looking right now at 3 months to a year, right? In that range of a deposit, let's say for 3 months or 6 months or 9 months or even 12 months. What is the interest that I can earn? You can see Bank of Jerusalem is winning right now with 3.71%. Who is that even? They're a good. Yeah, I don't know who that is, but they're doing terrible. And then you can see, okay, the big banks, Bank Leumi and Bank Hapoalim, they're about. That's pretty good. Okay. Again, this is just a snapshot in time. It's going to be very different a month from now, and it can be very different already when you log onto your bank. But this gives you some information, a starting point to understand what can I expect and what should I be looking for when I'm talking about earning interest. Why don't you jump in some? Yeah.
Okay, so who remembers how to say withdrawal, not cocaine withdrawal, but money withdrawal? Meshicha. To withdraw. Limshoch kesef. And what about deposit? A deposit? Hafkada. Lehafkid kesef. Well, what kind of hafkada do we have? We have pikadon, hafkada pikadon. Wait a second.
Yeah.
Oops, hold on. I want to refresh this.
Lost it.
Oops. Here we go.
go.
Hafkada lepikadon, which is a deposit into as a pikadon is a savings account. Pikadon is a place for safekeeping. It's basically a savings account, right? Is there a better term for it?
Deposit savings account. There's not really a good term for it.
Yeah, pikadon is like where the money gets.
It's basically a sub account. It's within your existing account, but it's a sub account where you'll be able to see it in the same account. When you log in, you'll still be able to see it. But it's essentially a sub account.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's not your checking account, which is what. Osh, it's your pikadon. Okay, it's your one, and you can have many pikadonot in the same account, right?
Because 20 sub accounts, right?
Wow. Okay, so hafkada pikadon, I didn't know that, is a deposit into your pikadon. Then there's what kinds of pikadon are there? There are several kinds of pikadon, and the one that's most interesting here is the short-term savings, which is pikadon lizman katsuv. Katsuv means it's set, it's like limited. Like katsav in the supermarket is the one who cuts the butcher, cuts the meat, makes a clear cut, beginning and end. It's very clear where it starts and ends. So that's zman katsuv. Excuse the comparison. Pikadon zman katsuv is
short-term deposit.
Short-term deposit. Yeah. There we go. Okay.
Great. So first of all, there's a lot of terms here. I'm going to send you an article after this tomorrow with the recording that's going to outline a lot more in detail how to go through this process. We're just trying to give you the basics so you understand. Unfortunately, it's pretty confusing here. It really took a lot of time to research this, just how it works and all the different banks. It's a pretty complicated system, and you just got to prepare yourself. Don't try and make a little progress. Try and maybe do a little experiment. Make a small deposit to one of the easy options that you find on your bank, just to test it out and to get comfortable with it. But basically, if we're trying to put away let's say a significant sum of money for 1 year or 2 years, let's go through a 4-step process of how to maximize this. Step 1, what is my bank offering, right? We can we can go online on our bank. We can go to the section where they're outlining the deposits. We can select the time period we're looking to, deposit the money for, and we can see what are they offering online. Just if I were to click a button right now, what are they offering me? Number 2, what is the market offering, right? Let's go back to the Bank of Israel tool that we were just talking about. What is out there? Am I being ripped off by my bank, or is my bank giving me a good rate, or is there a big gap here that I need to close? Number 3 is, what is Bank of Jerusalem offering? And the reason why I single out Bank of Jerusalem is they're one of the unique banks that offer you can make a deposit in their bank without having to open up a new Over V'Shav, right? Without having to open up a new Osh, without having to open up a new bank account. You can just open up a Picadon and then transfer it back to your whatever bank you're using. So, right. So that's one of the options for avoiding having to switch banks because you decide your bank is just ripping you off, but you're able to take advantage of maybe a higher interest rate without switching banks. And option number 4 and step number 4 is to, again, back to the negotiate word, negotiate. Go to your bank, show them this tool, bring them a printout and say, listen, you got to at least meet bank discount over here, or I'm going to bank discount. That kind of thing. If you're not going to match this, go to them, do your research, go to them with, an understanding of what the market is providing, what Bank of Jerusalem is providing. And they know you can just transfer straight there without having to switch accounts. And ask them. I've spoken to 3 people recently about this, looking to put money away, and every single one of them got better rates by speaking to a banker. It's an unfortunate thing. It's a waste of time, but that is what you have to do here if you want to, maximize rates, especially if you're talking about putting away money for a year, maybe a year and a half, anything like that. Try and maximize your rate. Try and understand it. And there's a lot of different terms, a lot of different types of deposits. Again, I'm gonna send an article with a lot more information on that. Any more Hebrew terms you want to review before we take some questions?
Let's review. Negotiate. We don't have a verb for it. It's the nahel. What? A negotiation? What's a negotiation in Hebrew? Masa umatan. Masa umatan. Right. Let's see what else we have here. What is my bank offering? Oh yeah. What are options in Hebrew? How do you say options? Efsharuyot. Let's break that down because pronunciation can be a little difficult with that one. Listen and repeat. Ruyot. Efshar. Efsharuyot. Efsharuyot. So how do you say options in Hebrew? Efsharuyot. And how about one option? Efsharut. For example, יש פה הרבה אפשרויות להצלחה. There are a lot of options for success. And that's what I come up with. Okay.
Awesome. So, okay, we've kind of touched on a lot of different subjects. Like I said, a lot of information. We hope we gave you a little bit of a taste of what there's to come. We're going to send you emails and a lot more resources that you can now take this step further and really learn about a lot of the things that we talked about, even more. Lots of free resources. We're going to email you. You can email us, both Ami and I, with questions, whether it's Hebrew questions. Make sure you send it to Ami, not me. And if it's questions about finance, we are doing lots of these kind of things. We hope to do lots more events based on. I'm seeing great questions here from people that want to cover other topics. We can definitely think about it in the future. I hope this was helpful. I hope this provided you a lot of value. And Ami, thanks for joining me on the webinar.
Thank you for hosting and co-hosting. It was great. Lots of success to everyone.
And everybody who hasn't made Aliyah yet, and this planning. Good luck. We're rooting for you. We're gonna greet. We're excited to greet you with open arms. Have a great night, everybody.
יאללה, להתראות.